Today, the world is evolving. IT products are in every aspect of our life. We can hardly imagine our lives without them. And here, I want to offer you to decide, do you want to be a simple user, or do you want to participate in actually creation of such products which are changing this world right now? And if the answer is yes, I want to help you. With growth of IT, the role of an IT business analyst is not just growing, it's becoming extremely popular because it's very important to have a business analyst, or at least a business analysis on a project, especially if you want to create a successful product. So with this, becoming a business analyst or actually getting a job is becoming harder as well. If you ever tried to look through job postings for a junior business analyst position, you would find the requirements of having 3 years of experience. I call it experience paradox. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? What comes first, a business analyst or business analysis experience? Today we're tackling this challenge, and based on decade of my experience in IT, I want to show you the fastest way to become a business analyst and actually get your first job. So if by now you've decided to break the experience paradox and dive into the universe of IT business analysis, stick around. That's going to be your roadmap to start and build a successful career. In order to get your first job as a business analyst, everything that you need to do is to make your employer satisfied with your quality as a specialist, to show them that you're qualified enough to get this position. So based on that, we need to understand how to satisfy the employers. The main reason for project delays and project failures today are requirement quality or requirement gaps. And that's why employers usually require a specialist with a good BA knowledge and a BA experience. So those are two things which are absolutely required and shape you as a specialist. So it means that we need to understand how to get the knowledge and the experience the fastest way. And let's start with the knowledge first. And point number one here is learn the basics. Well, yeah, it sounds really broad, but what I want to do right now is narrow it down and split it into several clear categories which you can take and learn them step by step. The first thing you need to start here is understand the role of a business analyst clearly. So you really need to dive into that and understand the expectations from the role, why the role is so valuable in the team and what value it brings to the project itself while building the product. I conducted plenty of interviews in my career, and believe me, some of experienced business analysts do not understand the role properly, and that affects all their activities on the project. So let's say when you ask a person what you're going to start with when you start the project, they start with something like, I'm going to create the functional requirements document, blah, 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 stuff like that. But it's not the right way. Your idea is to bring the value. Make sure that the product that you're going to build is going to bring the value and is going to solve the problem. How you're going to document the requirements if you don't know what problem you're going to solve. So developing functions is not for the sake of the functions. Each functions bring value to the project. So whatever you need to start with is dive into understanding of the role of a business analyst on the project. Understand it clearly, so it's going to be your basement on which you're going to build all your knowledge. From my own experience, a lot of stakeholders, they do not understand why a business analyst should be in the team. So I offer you to go into such exercise. Imagine you are on a project and imagine you are a business analyst. Try to, it's not the correct word, not the nice word, but try to sell yourself to the customer. Try to convince the customer that you're a very valuable person. Explain to the customer the role, the value of the person in the project, why the project might fail, while the cost might be higher. from the business perspective, because this is actually the truth. Business analyst is a very important person in each team in a project. And why I offer you to have this exercise, because only understanding the role properly, you may explain and convince the customer that you worth paying the money for, because customers, they pay money. So they need to understand the clear value from the business perspective why you should be in the team. Do this exercise. But before going in such an exercises, try to understand the responsibilities of a business analyst better. Facilitation of the communication, alignment between the business and the team, understanding the key objectives of the project, and so on. So that's very important. Try this. You will not regret. And point number 2 I want to add to the basics is stakeholder management. Stakeholders are not only the end users of this product, but anyone who are impacted by the product that you are developing, and on the other side, everyone who might affect or impact the product that you are developing. It might be like from executives to frontline specialists. A lot of people might go into this category. Each stakeholder brings a unique perspective that contributes to comprehensive requirements. Your goal is to familiarize yourself with stakeholder management process. Who are the stakeholders, how to identify them, what is the RACI matrix, how to structure the stakeholders that you get to know on the project, and etc. The next one is a big one, but very important. This is the requirements management process. You need to really understand the art and the science of collection, documenting, and managing the requirements. Be sure it's not about creating perfect documents or beautiful diagrams. A technical writer can do that. But the thing is that you don't want to be a technical writer. You want to be a business analyst. And your main goal there is going to be satisfy the needs of the stakeholders, understand their pains, their goals, and satisfy them. And in most of the cases, they are not on the surface. It's rare when stakeholders come to you and tell what they need. And on the other side of the coin is what they tell you and not always actually solve the real problems. In most of the cases, you have to dig, you have to ask the correct questions. You need to create some understanding of the business to understand better the problems and try to find a better way, the best solution to solve them. So that's the main idea. And when you translate the requirements into technical documentation, you always need to keep in mind that whatever you document solves the problem. Understand how to clearly outline the objectives of requirements gathering process. There are always objectives for the requirements gathering. What are you aiming to achieve? Whether it's improving a process, it's launching a new product, or enhancing user experience, clear objectives guide the gathering process. That's very important. And that's what I recommend. First, try to understand the requirements gathering techniques. Try to understand which of them might be more effective for you, which of them might help you to collect the requirements properly, in an accurate way. And try to take a look at that wider to understand what techniques are in place, what you can use in different situations. If you have one stakeholder, if you have a group of stakeholders. So try to analyze it yourself. Point number 2, become better in active listening. So whenever you communicate with a stakeholder, try to listen, try to understand what a stakeholder wants to tell you. Sometimes it's not so clear, sometimes it's not obvious. Stakeholders might give you some general ideas or thoughts, but you need to read between the lines, something like that. So you really need to actively listen to make the process effective. And one more is prioritization. So you really need to understand how to prioritize what you collect from the stakeholders. That's very important. You need to be good into prioritization. So dive into different prioritization techniques based on different situations, based on the number of requirements, you might apply different prioritization techniques. So also try to dive into that and get better. So let me underline that there are 3 points that you need to know regarding the knowledge. First, learn the basics. Second, understand that stakeholder management process. And third, dive deep into requirements management process. Take those 3 main points and make them the core to understand, and believe me, that's going to create a solid, but what is more important, the correct basement. Second important point in the knowledge is knowing the tools as a business analyst. Tools are going to be your main companions to help you to create artifacts fast, with good quality, and with a great purpose. There are a lot of tools that a business analyst might use, but I would recommend not to go into like all of them and try to get as much as you can. No, please learn for the purpose. So for that, I would like to split the purpose of the tools in 3 categories, and you need to only grab the tools which fall into those categories. As a business analyst, what you would definitely need is work with the business to collect their requirements. You would need to address them to the team. And there are several concepts there. First thing, you would need to work with a backlog, with the tasks. You would need to align the team, you would need to track the progress, and you would need to navigate through the project itself. So for that, I recommend to use a kind of a duo. I call them a perfect duo. This is Jira and Confluence. Why I recommend them? Because those are the industry giants. They are perfect, they are very popular, they use in many of the companies, and I think that on your first project, there would be this duo, like Jira and Confluence. So now let's understand the purpose. First thing, Jira. Jira is a task management tool. So basically this is the place where you're going to create the tasks for the team. You're going to work with the backlog, with the priorities. You're going to understand where you are, align with the team together. This is a kind of a hub where you have all the tasks, you manage them, and you track the progress. The other part of things, this is Confluence, and you may think of Confluence as a kind of a documentation hub. So basically all the documentation that you have on the project, it might be stored in Word documents, in Excel, on Google Disk, on Google Tables, and many other sources. But actually it becomes very complicated. So it's easier to have one place when you can have all your documentation, and Confluence is perfect for that. Try to play with it. The good part is the Jira and Confluence, they have possibility to create free projects, so you can actually have your own experience working with Jira and Confluence together. One more point is having some tools which are going to help you create diagrams. Why this is very important? Like, to simplify that, we may define like 2 main categories. First thing is creating the description in a clear way for the team, for the requirements, right? That's the first point, because if you have a complicated calculation logic, let's say if it's a fintech project and you have like score calculation or logic if you want to approve or deny an application, it's easier to use a flowchart instead of writing everything in words, or even defining the process, right? So describing the process, it's easier to use the diagrams in most of the cases. Second big point about the diagrams is a kind of validation of how properly you understand the request from the stakeholders. Let's say you sit with a stakeholder and you ask, okay, what you're doing with this specific process, how you create this document, how you approve this document, right? And the stakeholders start to tell you the story of how this happens. The easiest way is to create the diagram and then show to the stakeholder saying, hey, can you please take a look? Do I understand that properly? And then stakeholder might say, hey, no, there is a very important point which I missed. It should be here and this one should be there. So this is the way to visualize it properly, show to the stakeholder, and validate that you understand everything the right way. So the tools, if we're talking about the tools, I usually use Lucidchart or Draw.io, mostly Draw.io. I recommend you that because it's easy, it's free, and the biggest part is that several people might work in one diagram. The third part is mockups. Don't go too hard about that. You're not a designer, you're not going to create crazy designs or interfaces, just simple mockups. And for that, I recommend you to use Balsamic. It's very easy to use, it's nothing complicated there, and I think that my granny can create mockups there, and it's going to be perfect. The list I mentioned, it covers the basics that each business analyst must know. As I mentioned in the beginning, learn for the purpose. So try to understand the main idea, why those tools are used, why they help you, what's the purpose of using them. So when you understand this, on your first project, you might have different tools, but when you understand the purpose, when you understand which tool is going to be used for specific cases, it's going to be easy for you to switch to different tools, to add more tools into that list. But please don't go crazy, don't overcomplicate, just grab the list that I gave you and try to have some experience with them. Now let's go to the most exciting part, but the most important one, the experience. You may spend millions of hours watching YouTube or going over Udemy courses, and this is fine, but this is where the beginners make their first but their major mistake. You may spend millions of hours watching, but the answer is simple. Learn by doing. You need to understand that experience may be received only when you actually do the job, but how you can get the experience if you're actually not working as a business analyst right now? This is a common question. If you are not working as a business analyst, you need to find a way to get experience. And if you don't have the best, so it doesn't mean that you're stuck. Like if you don't have the best, make the best of what you have, because opportunities are everywhere. So my advice here is start to do the job even if no one asks you to do that. Start doing the job in your current role. You need to understand that businesses which are coming to IT to request an IT service, it might be any domain, any sphere. So it might be the sphere where you work in and you do some processes, and that's where you can start. And one obvious way is to start to look for a business process that you may take a look, create a detailed description, or optimize. Business process is just a step-by-step process that happens on a constant basis. Let's say on your current position, in your role, in your business, you do something. Let's say you service a customer, you supply a product, you create an account. So try to analyze that in detail. Go into it, like create a step-by-step description. And the best way to do that is start to using diagrams. And this is the point where you can start creating BPMNs, flowcharts or activity diagrams, and start actually using the tools that I provided to you some time ago in this video. And this is a very easy way to get started. It's very obvious, and this is where you can get your first experience out of it. Don't miss it. The other cool way to proceed is take a look at the software that you use. And no matter what kind of software, it might be a mobile application, it might be a web application, it might be a website, no matter what you're going to pick, but take a look at it. Try to think what are the requirements to this software. How does it work? What are the functions? What functions do you use? And you may think that, well, yeah, I do not use any specific software. But again, be simple. You use Google, you use Gmail. In Gmail, you have a login form or registration form. Take a look at it. Try to understand how it works. Again, create a mockup, create a flowchart out of it. And then you can go into more complex software. Go and register somewhere in a web application right online where there is a personal account, right? And in the personal account, you might have several functions there, different pages. Try to analyze there. Think of how it works. Think of what you might want to enhance, what you might want to change there, or maybe you are missing additional functions. So this is the right moment to start thinking of it very seriously. And actually, this is the right moment to start using all the tools that I mentioned. Jira, Confluence to create the tasks for the requirements. Let's say Google login form. Create a task in Jira and create a clear description in Confluence. Or take some other platform and then go there and create your own function. Jira, Confluence, and then on top of it, use the Lucidchart, Draw.io, or Balsamic for mockups and embed that in your Confluence documentation. Create a real specification for the function as a requirement. You may start with as-is functions, the functions which are currently there. Just think how might sound the request toward creating those functions. Just start by doing this and then try to invent your own functions, what you would like to have there, and start creating the documentation for that one. You need to understand that the faster you start with your experience, the faster your knowledge would build up a structure in your head. And this is what you actually need. And this not only enhances your skills, but it actually creates the real cases, the real use cases that you might show in the interview. And this is the most valuable thing. Those are very easy practices that you may start with right now, but it's going to build up your background for further improvements. One more thing that I'd like to mention that might help you a lot, this is networking. I think that networking is a key. It's like it is said, if you communicate with 5 people who are like real professionals, you are going to be like the 6th one, right? So try to dive into the networking, try to find experts in the fields. And it might look complicated, but it's not. Believe me, there are plenty of communities like VA communities. There might be LinkedIn groups, Telegram communities that you can join. And then from there, you can go to some meetups. You may meet people, communicate with them, hear their stories, and absorb the knowledge from there. And one more big point is, if you would get a mentor, like who is currently in that field and who may lead you and provide like good structure for your knowledge, like step by step, give you the guidance, step by step guidance based on the real experience of this mentor, it would be really cool. That would be like a very big growth for you from the very starting point. Believe me, so networking is a key. Congratulations, now you're ready to go. Don't be afraid, go to the interviews. That's really, I'm not joking, just go to the interviews. Because really experiencing interviews give you better understanding of what are the requirements of potential employers, what are their expectations from you, right? And the other good part of it is understanding the gaps in your knowledge and your experience, and that would be easier than to cover that in the right way and following the right direction. No problem, even senior and lead specialist and myself, I do go to the interviews on pretty constant basis just to touch the market, understand what other technologies, what people ask, what people do, what companies do, and that helped to shape myself as a good specialist. So go and do that. A friend of mine once told me that working in IT, we have to run in order to stay in the same spot. So the journey of becoming an IT business analyst is not about landing your job. It's about building a skill set that makes you invaluable asset in the field. So stay persistent, stay curious, and most importantly, enjoy the learning process. If you found these tips helpful, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and comment below in case you have any thoughts or questions. And now, let's get back to crafting solutions and make the actual change in the world of IT business analysis. And woof, let's make it a journey that's never boring.
Here, let me break it down. Yeah, I'm gonna make it now. Give me some time and you'll see me up on stage somehow.